Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. We're just a month away from the NFL kicking off. And this week, preseason starts, joint practices have begun. We're really here. We are here. Football is here. It's very exciting times. I've got some more training camp news to break down for you guys. That's what we're going to do. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right. So welcome in, everyone. Good morning to you, the Hairy Snowman, Jamie, Mark, Donald. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. Again, guys, you can find the Wake and Take podcast via the link in the description. If you can't catch us live, you can sure as hell listen to the show later on. So again, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Good morning to you, Robert. Let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. Let's just get rocking and rolling. Again, I did just want to start off saying that preseason games are starting this week. In fact, they will begin Thursday. There's games Thursday. There's games Friday. There's games Saturday. There's games Sunday. It's very, very exciting stuff. And as we know, with kind of the shortened preseason, we actually do see a little bit more of the starter action, at least the first week or the third week. So it's kind of fun to see what's going to happen. We're going to see a lot of the training camp hype. We're going to see really how it translates to the preseason. Obviously, we're not going to see like massive stat lines, but we'll see usage, right? And that's really all we're looking for. One big story surrounding preseason is that Jayden Daniels is expected to start this week for the first preseason game for the Commanders. We don't know what that means, like if it's just a drive, if it's a quarter, if it's the whole game. But either way, we'll be seeing some Jayden Daniels NFL action this week, and that's pretty exciting stuff. So keep your eye on that. I'm sure there'll be other announcements regarding some of these stars getting going in preseason. But one of them, Jayden Daniels. So that's very exciting stuff. Excited to watch that, as actually one of the biggest stories coming up throughout training camp really has been how good Jayden Daniels has looked, whether it be him carrying the ball, like on designed runs, whether it be scrambling on undesigned runs and just like a pass play broken down, whether it be making impressive throws to Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Every single report we're seeing is that Jayden Daniels looks like the stud the Commanders have drafted him to be, and I'm excited about it. I know we, of course, have the size concerns, but that didn't necessarily stop him last year, right? He goes and has a Heisman, one of the best passing seasons we've ever seen, one of the best rushing seasons we've ever seen. Just an incredible, incredible season from him. And he's got weapons, and he's got a really good offense surrounding him, even down to the staff. Like Cliff Kingsbury, say what you want about him as a head coach. It's going to be a fun offense, and I like the weapons around him, and I like just hearing every single report I am about Jayden Daniels. It just makes me really, really buy into him this year, especially for our single quarterback leagues, but damn sure our super flex leagues. It's going to be awesome. We love our Konami code running backs. He sure as hell has it. And Jahan Dotson says this about Jayden Daniels: I'm seeing something crazy every day for him, whether it's an off-platform throw, showing the wheels, etc. We're so lucky to have him. I love hearing that from Jahan Dotson. There's another quote here, and this really a few players are brought up here, but during practice Friday, Daniels connected with receiver Terry McLaurin on another back shoulder throw in which McLaurin made a one-handed grab. The two have started to develop a good rhythm. Daniels has also connected often with tight end Zach Ertz. With 2 joint practice sessions as well as 2 preseason games in the next 2 weeks, Washington will get a stronger feel for where Daniels is in his growth, but there's been no reason to doubt so far the Commanders like where he's headed. Really great news. Again, Jahan Dotson hyping him up. Now this beat reporter hyping him up, saying they've seen everything they want to see from him, building connections even down to Zach Ertz. And you might be asking, Jason, is there more Zach Ertz stuff? Yes. Ben Standig says, is Zach Ertz positioned as Daniels' best red zone target? The answer right now is yes. Ertz, 33, isn't the same player he was during his Pro Bowl era with the Philadelphia Eagles, and has only played 17 games combined the past 2 seasons, largely due to injuries. However, he's been sharp this offseason as a route runner. Daniels has found Ertz for touchdowns on multiple occasions, and this was going to be the story, right? You have a rookie tight end in Ben Sinnott. In fact, a highly drafted rookie tight end in Ben Sinnott. But then they go and they bring in Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, of course, played with Cliff Kingsbury. Zach Ertz, of course, known for holding back even Trey McBride in Arizona. He's a producer. As much as we hate to say it, Zach Ertz is a producer. And it's sounding like he's doing that at camp and really locking himself in as the tight end one, as long as he can stay healthy. And that's more so the bet when it comes to Ben Sinnott. Again, guys, I love myself some Ben Sinnott. Very impressive Senior Bowl, incredible combine performance, a basketball player turned football player. That's what you're looking for at the tight end position, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not saying fade Ben Sinnott. I'm saying that we should, well, maybe for redraft purposes, but even then with the injury, he's going to be awesome. And there are reports too that Ben Sinnott is building a good connection with Jayden Daniels. I just think it's going to take an injury to Zach Ertz before Ben Sinnott becomes truly relevant, or it's just going to have to be next season, which is fine because with rookie tight ends, we always expect some time for development anyway. So it's fine. He's going to sit behind Zach Ertz, one of the greatest tight ends to ever do it. And he's going to learn a lot and he's going to get acclimated to the NFL. And then he's going to be awesome. So use this time to buy Ben Sinnott. Use this time to trade for Zach Ertz as well if you have Ben Sinnott just for the fill-in. I actually just did a weekly winners draft this morning, and I always take a top-end tight end, so it's not like this is like a super big deal or whatever. Like I had Sam Laporta, but I decided to end my last two picks in the draft with Ben Sinnott and Zach Ertz, just in case. It's weekly winners. I wanted to have those tight ends, just in case, right? And I think that would be fine for redraft leagues, for dynasty leagues. Get some Zach Ertz. I think that he'll be pretty relevant to start the year until he gets hurt, if he gets hurt, right? So Zach Ertz looking like someone worth having on your roster for redraft purposes, but don't give up on Ben Sinnott. Never do. Never do. I like this call from Harry Snowman that he could be the play for the second half of the season. I still think it'll take an injury, but I also do see potential for him to at least get on the field in two tight end sets and stuff like that because he is a really good route runner. He's also a really good blocker too. Like genuinely, Ben Sinnott is a good tight end. I really don't want to make any mistakes about that. I like Ben Sinnott a lot. I want you guys to buy into him. I want you guys to go trade for him, but just, temper some expectations on when he breaks out. Not if, when. And I think that that's the best way to put it here. But I'm just very excited for Jayden Daniels. I mean, that's Harry Snowman puts it out here, looking identical to Lamar Jackson right now. It is really, really incredible. Every report we're seeing, the highlights are incredible too. Get Jayden Daniels while you still can. Again, guys, Caleb Williams is valued ahead of Jayden Daniels in Dynasty right now, anywhere you look. And I just think that's asinine. I really don't get it. We care about Konami code quarterbacks so much. So much. And the offense is better built around Jayden Daniels too. I know that the Bears obviously have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, but the offensive line is terrible. The offensive coordinator is not great. The head coach is not great. I'm not like crazy excited for Caleb Williams' rookie season, at least in comparison to Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels has the much higher fantasy ceiling, easily even. So I want Jayden Daniels. If I have Caleb Williams, I'm trading him for Jayden Daniels plus every single day of the week. Get him while you can. I mean, you don't get top tier Konami code quarterbacks very, very often. So yeah, get Jay Daniels, get Ben Sinnott, get Luke McCaffrey still too, as he's seemingly really quiet. But remember, he had really, really good rookie mini camp. So just keep your eyes really on all these commanders. It really is seeming like this is going to be a really good offense. I'm liking it a lot. Literally down to Austin Eckler. And they even have Michael Wiley, I believe, is their undrafted free agent rookie running back that I liked a lot from the Senior Bowl too. Like I like all of the pieces in this offense. It's a very, very well-built offense in depth. Right? I mean, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey. Then you've got both tight ends, Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott. Then you've got a really good running back room in Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. It's good. It is a good team on offense. So, and which is good because the defense kind of sucks. So they're just going to be playing catch up. Anyway, get Jayden Daniels. I'll move on from this. Speaking of rookie tight ends, I'm going to go ahead and jump a bit into my show sheet and talk about the Panthers because one rookie tight end that has been hard to evaluate this whole pre-draft process really has been, of course, Jatavian Sanders, right? As he, going into the combine, Jatavian Sanders was actually looked at as the second best tight end in this draft class behind Brock Bowers. Not that great of a combine, not that great of a pro day. So he kind of lost some value and, fell in between the ranks of a Ben Sinnott, right? A Theo Johnson, even kind of just in between those guys with the 4th round draft capital. But still, he has back-to-back 600-yard seasons in college. and comes out early. A young tight end coming out early is pretty rare for college, especially one with that kind of production. You don't normally get 600 yards and multiple touchdowns very often as a college tight end. It's just not a position that gets a lot of volume. But Ja'Tavion Sanders, he has pretty decent athleticism, 4.69 40-yard dash at 6'4", 245 pounds. Again, 2 600-yard seasons from Texas, 7 touchdowns over the last 2 years. A pretty decent threat. And what I'm starting to come around to on Ja'Tavion Sanders, and this is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to say it anyway, is just Sam Laporta, right? Sam Laporta, not a ton of hype, really at all for some reason, even though obviously really, really good tight end. But ends up in a situation where you're almost instantly asked to produce, where volume is just coming your way because it has to. And it just makes you fit into the NFL at an exponential rate. We just saw it last year. And that is how I felt really this whole time with Ja'Tavion Sanders, where, he's going to be the starting tight end. And there's not like a really true alpha on this offense. So there's a really easy way to paint a picture for Ja'Tavion Sanders to at least be a piece of the puzzle, getting 4 or 5 targets a game with some touchdown upside. And that's really all you're looking for, especially a guy that you can get in your 3rd round of rookie drafts, a guy that you could get really anywhere in redraft as well. So it's... I like it. I like the situation a lot for him. And I really do think that it is going to be conducive to rookie season success. And so I do want to urge, while I'm saying to wait on Ben Sinnott or, scoop him up, but temper expectations, I'm not really feeling that for Ja'Tavion Sanders. I think that he is the candidate to have a rookie breakout season out of any of the tight ends this year. Just on situation alone, he has a decent enough profile and a decent enough landing spot. Yes, we have to expect the Panthers offense to get a little bit better before we can be truly excited about him as a consistent option. But I think that we should be expecting maybe Dalton Kincaid type rookie season, right? Not too great, but good enough in context of it being a rookie tight end year. So not a Sam Laporta year. But yeah, I'm liking Ja'Tavion Sanders a lot, and so are the beat reporters. Mike K tweets out that Canales has seen exponential growth from Ja'Tavion Sanders in technique in camp. And that's good because Ian Thomas is dealing with a calf injury that could sideline him close to week 1. And Shaq Thompson is dealing with a hamstring injury. And Tommy Tremble is dealing with a hamstring injury as well. Every single tight end in the Panthers room is injured. And Ja'Tavion Sanders is doing the best with his opportunity. In fact, Bryce Young with an option throw to tight end Ja'Tavion Sanders in the end zone with a falling catch. Play of the day for the touchdown, Bryce Young to Ja'Tavion Sanders. Good stuff there. So now we're hearing that the connection is building as well. So now we have good athletic profile, good situation, good college production. Now a good connection building through camp as well with his quarterback. So Ja'Tavion Sanders is someone I want to go get. I really do. I'm expecting a rookie breakout for him, which is hard to say for tight ends. But to their rookie running back, things are going to take some time, as expected. Head coach Dave Canales has said that Jonathan Brooks will not play in the preseason and said that that was totally expected and is expecting him to be healthy around week 3 or week 4. What we could say about this is that he's probably going to end up on PUP and miss the 4 weeks of the season and then come back in week 5, week 6 or whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. That's what we expected. We didn't expect Jonathan Brooks to play early at all anyway. He basically had his entire college season before picking up the injury. We knew it was going to take some time. So it's going to be nice. I like it. I like it. Use this opportunity to buy Jonathan Brooks because once he comes in, I do think he'll be pretty good. Now, it's obviously going to take a couple weeks of him getting up to the game speed. But, again, they traded up for him and they're going to rely on him. I know Chuba Hubbard is there too, but I know that Jonathan Brooks is their long-term plan. And it's not like this is a season where they're really, really trying to win games. So I do think that there will be a pivot earlier than expected for Jonathan Brooks to be the main guy. Chuba Hubbard will, of course, fill in, but I really do think that the plan is to get Jonathan Brooks the ball early and often as a pass catcher, as a runner. So I want to try to scoop him up while I can as well. Lastly, on the Panthers, Xavier Legette had an MRI that ruled out a fracture in his foot and is considered day to day. This comes as he suffered an injury in practice a few days ago and didn't return. It seems fine. It ruled out a fracture, so that's really the best you can hope for. Being day-to-day means he'll probably miss out this week, and they probably won't rush him back for their preseason game. But he will be out there at some point and hopefully good to go for the season. So just keep your eye on that. The only thing that sucks, again, is that he was already not doing that well at camp and being outperformed by Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and Jonathan Mingo. Now he's losing even more reps, so it's just going to take even longer for him really to break out. Even if it is a minor injury, it's keeping you off the field. So anyway, I also do want to point this out. Andrew Cooper was on Sam Laporta, just saying give credit where credit is due. So was I. I actually remember a very heated debate with you, Snowman, on the team we run in FFPC where I begged to draft Sam Laporta, and we ended up going, I think, with someone else. I think Evan Ingram maybe, which of course wasn't wrong. But I wanted Sam Laporta so bad last year. You can even go find it on YouTube. I had a draft video Monday after the draft. I had two calls. Sam Laporta and Devon Achane. Those were my two flag plants last year from day 2 and day 3. Or I guess day 2, rounds 2 and 3. Those are my two flag plants from those rounds. I was very much in on Sam Laporta for the situation, for the profile. I said my argument last year was Jameson Williams is suspended. They're going to look at someone. I bet they're just going to funnel targets to Sam Laporta. And what did they do? Exactly that. So yes, Andrew Cooper was there, but so was I. I want some credit on Sam Laporta too. Any updates on Roman Wilson? Why don't we go ahead and hop right into that? We do have some Steelers camp updates. And right now, Roman Wilson is still injured. However, from what I read this morning, his boot is off. Which is good, which is really good news. And it seems from Ray Fittipaldo, Ray-Fit1 on Twitter, says Roman Wilson is out of his walking boot and not favoring his sprained ankle. So things seem fine. Again, this injury was kind of reported as minor and was expected to be good to go for the season. The only thing that really was concerning with it was the fact, like Xavier Legette, he's losing reps. And you never really want to lose reps as a rookie in camp, especially when you're on the Steelers and Mike Tomlin is more of an old school coach. And there's already not expected to be a ton of pass volume to go around. Hopefully, with him already having the boot off and it being not a high ankle sprain, that was reported as well, he could be back next week, which should be fine. Maybe even later this week. I doubt we'll see preseason action from him, but it's seeming like he's trending in the right direction, which is really good news. I was getting worried that he might miss the rest of camp, seeming that he won't, which is really good news. The quicker he can get back, the better. Because so far, Steelers offense looks really good in camp. Alex Kozora says Steelers offense is cooking. Scored touchdowns the first 6 reps. Justin Fields 3 touchdown passes. And funny enough, right before that tweet, Russell Wilson takes the first rep on 11 on 11s, hands it off to Najee Harris, and then subs out for Justin Fields. Derek, Steelers DB on Twitter. My biggest takeaway from tonight's practice was that Justin Fields looked very, very good. He was much better tonight than he was yesterday. Not only was he accurate, but he was much more decisive tonight and consistently got the ball out on time where it needed to go. Then, 32 Beat Writers tweets out, Fields continues to look great throwing the ball. His mechanics are smooth. He'll probably never be the most accurate quarterback in the world, but he's had very few badly thrown balls the last few days. Almost all the negativity you do find in his game is just about being decisive with his reads, which has kind of always been the thing. And then Arthur Smith says this morning in a press conference, Justin Fields adds a different element to the offense. It's over. The Russell Wilson experiment is over. I really didn't expect it to be this fast, but it's done. Russell Wilson is done. In fact, I saw some reports this weekend that unfortunately they are now debating even keeping Russell Wilson on the roster. That was what one of the Steelers reporters had mentioned, was now the question has started to become, what do they do with Russell Wilson? I still think he'll be a backup. I mean, you need backup quarterbacks, but that is just awful to hear how quickly it happened, right? It is just like, I don't know what to say. I have been pounding the table all off season to use any opportunity you had to get Justin Fields on your Superflex teams, on your one quarterback teams. I thought that it would be end of season. Like my quote was, he'll take over second half of the season and be a league winner for fantasy purposes, even if he doesn't improve as a passer, because he's just so good at scoring fantasy points. Now it's looking like he's actually taking some strides. A lot of reports out there say that the connection with him and George Pickens is growing and actually looks amazing. Lots of his touchdown passes are going to George Pickens, so that's really incredible news. We already had the reports that he's connecting with Pat Freiermuth as well. Really everything you want to hear. Everything you want to hear about Justin Fields improving is happening. And as I've been saying, all of the reports and people saying that Justin Fields wasn't good last year, they're just wrong. They're just wrong. He wasn't great, but was he good? Did he improve? Yes, and yes. Career best completion percentage, career best passing yards, right? What do you want? What do you want? A 4-touchdown passing game against the Broncos? I mean, shit. I mean, like a good year from him in his first season with a true wide receiver, right? Top 10 in both deep ball and under pressure accuracy rating. No offensive line, multiple offensive coordinators. And again, I say Matt Eberflus is not a good head coach. He's just not a good head coach. And at the very least has no idea how to develop quarterbacks. It was very easy. It was so easy to just get Justin Fields. It was just so easy. Just so easy. He was free. And best ball, he was free in Dynasty, right? It was just ridiculous how easy it was to get this guy. And it was so easy to know that this was going to happen. Like Russell Wilson, the Broncos decided to eat $40-something million in dead cap to get him off the team. Russell Wilson, the player that no team wanted to give him a minimum contract to outside of the Steelers. Minimum $1 million. It took weeks for him to get signed. I don't get it. I really never understood why there was so much faith around Russell Wilson, especially in contrast to the player behind him, a player we love in fantasy football, Justin Fields. I, again, do not care that he hasn't been the best passer. He can score 50 points on the ground. Like, he's insane to watch. One of the most athletic quarterbacks we've ever seen. And we thought that he would lose the job to Russell Wilson? I don't know. Sometimes fantasy football is easy and we overthink it. And I'm very, very excited that it's finally here. I really, again, thought that it would take some time. I really did. I was just trying to be realistic here. I didn't want to be too much of a Justin Fields stan. But I should have been even more. I should have had even more conviction. I almost said convicted, but I will not be. I know it now. I know that I'm not. You're not convicted. If you're convicted, you're in jail. If you have conviction, that's where you're confident in a tape. So anyway, should have had more conviction. I only have 16% exposure to Justin Fields in best ball right now. I only have 33% exposure to Justin Fields. I wish I had more weekly winner Justin Fields as well. But yes, I'll point this out. Ryan does say that the hype for Fields comes every year and he lets us down every single year. That's fair. That's fair. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Again, the Bears did not treat him right. They did it. They really did it. No weapons until they brought in DJ Moore. And what did he do? He improved. He improved. And they were like, you know what? You know what? We are going to bet on Matt Eberflus over our top 10 drafted young quarterbacks still on the rookie deal. I know you kind of have to go with Caleb Williams. But, I mean, the haul they got for the one pick from the Panthers was pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. And I'm sure that there were some similar offers out there. If we knew Fields was a starter, where would he be drafted? In Scott Fishbowl? Rounds much earlier. I am only sad that he still had a high ADP. He was one of the quarterbacks I was hoping to get late, but it's tough. I drafted from the 12, and it's just tough to get quarterbacks from the 12 because there's so many picks in between your next pick. So I think I ended up with a pretty shit quarterback room at the end of the day. I did get Jayden Daniels, which will be fine. But I think my other quarterback, if I remember correctly, was literally Gardner Minshew. Yes. Okay. I'll give some credit to the Bears. They did do Fields right at the end of the day. He asked to go to the Steelers, and they did send him to the Steelers for not great draft capital return. So you know what? I'll give them, their flowers there, but they did kind of ruin his development, and I don't think they gave him enough of a chance. Wow, Fields at the 1509. Congratulations. He was gone much before that in my league. It was hard to get quarterbacks. It really was. Anyway, that's the Steelers stuff. Even more hype for Justin Fields. I mean, let's go. You guys are probably happy. You've been listening to Wake and Take. You've been getting your Justin Fields. I know you have. Anyway, I saw a comment here. And we'll just have to do it. How long am I going to have to hold this L? Hopefully not too much longer. But unfortunately, I have been asked for my Ryan Flournoy update. It is still quiet. It is still some crickets in the Ryan Flournoy hype camp, if you will. Let me double check. Let me pull up Twitter. But the big thing I wanted to talk about today, I actually threw it on the show sheet already, is that Jalen Tolbert is still getting a ton of hype. And there's actually a massive NFL article about this. Which is kind of depressing on NFL.com. Here we go. I'll put it in the chat for you guys because I do agree that this is a pretty nice little article. Nice article. Lots of information about Dak Prescott and his love for Jalen Tolbert so far. And so I'm just going to kind of read some excerpts here. But we had a great conversation about roles, about what individual roles we have and what they are to the team. I remember Tolbert particularly lays out what he thinks his role was, and I just told him, your role is to go show that you can be a number one receiver, at minimum, a number two receiver. And he's approached this camp with that intensity, with that mindset, and he's made exactly those kind of plays practice after practice. I know he's given me tons of confidence in him, and I know his confidence is growing, and the play callers have confidence in keeping in him to keep feeding him the ball. Now he also goes on, anytime I wanted to throw, he was there. And then he goes on, every year the guy who I feel I spend the most time with in the offseason goes and has a huge year. I don't want to put that pressure on him, but we've spent a lot of time together. Last year, it was CD. I'm not saying he's going to have a CD type year as he did last year, but still. And then he went on, it's usually been a young guy that anytime I send that message out, they're there. It doesn't matter what time, what day, and that's been Tolbert this season. He's had a hell of a camp and obviously a hell of a year last year, and trends in the same direction to make another jump. He says, my trust is super high in him. I trust him with any route, wherever it is, against whoever. And lastly, he says, I'll tell him, I'm sure if he watches this, and I'll tell him to his face, he hasn't done anything yet. Another guy that I'm not going to put a ceiling on what his potential can be, because as long as he continues to approach the game the way he has, with the intensity, with the focus, and with the expectation to be a number one guy, no telling how great he can be. Please enable JavaScript to view this content. I'd throw that in there. Anyway, Dak Prescott loves Jalen Tolbert, which is not what I wanted to hear today. And it's a terrible way to spend my morning. But still, the play with Ryan Flournoy was never an early season breakout. We knew this. We knew it would be a late season breakout, whether it be an injury to Brandon Cooks or an injury to Jalen Tolbert or just being better than Jalen Tolbert. He was going to see the field by the end of the season, and I'm still going with it because everything we know is that Ryan Flournoy still hasn't really been on the field since his injury. We know he returned, but he still hasn't put on the pads yet. So we'll see. I still think once he gets up to full speed and gets out there, he'll be solid enough. Again, this is a profile I believe a ton in, and because I also believe everything I've been hearing. You know, Ryan Flournoy's head coaches from college, the hardest worker he's ever had. He had a 3.9 GPA that shows he has his head in the game. Very, very good Senior Bowl. Very, very good combine. You know, all conference 2 years in a row. I mean, consistent fighting back from injury. I mean, the dude has had such a tough path to get here and has made it and got such a good landing spot. So I still firmly believe in Ryan Flournoy. I'm not giving up. It's still going to take long. It is. I never expected him to break out week one. It was always a second half of the season type thing, and that's still very, very much on the menu, especially since he hasn't really been at camp. There's still time. Still plenty of time, and we'll see. We'll see. But don't give up yet. Don't give up yet, especially in Dynasty. But my 58% exposure on Underdog doesn't feel great right now. I'll tell you that much. But still, I think it'll be fun, and I think he'll definitely have a nice little spike week towards the end of the season. Jamie asks, I'm on the clock. Should I go Brandon Cooks or Mooney? I kind of want to go Mooney. I'm going to be honest with you. I am feeling a really good season from him in Atlanta, opposite Drake London and Kyle Pitts. But Brandon Cooks, you know, on paper is more than likely going to get more targets, and it's, you know, a little bit higher of a pass volume offense. So if it's best ball, I might go Brandon Cooks just because of the boomer bust. But if it's a managed league, I feel like Mooney is the better option. I think that he'll be more consistent, and that's kind of what's drawing me to him, if that helps your answer. But yeah, Marcus Mosher also tweets out, pretty steady drumbeat of positive news for Jalen Tolbert. He's having a strong camp. So echoed as well. There's honestly a lot of reports out there that Jalen Tolbert's looking good. I've shown some highlights from him. So we'll see. This was a player we wanted to break out. He just has it. He just has it, right? Like it is just really taking some time, and he hasn't done anything. But still, I mean, if you look at his profile, it's not too shabby. You know, he's still definitely worth rostering in Dynasty. He's still super, super cheap. You know, third round draft capital, 71st percentile 40, 62nd percentile in the catch radius, 97th percentile in college dominator, 96th percentile college target share. But his breakout age was in the 49th percentile. He didn't break out until year 4 really in college, until his senior year. So that'll just show why it took a while for him to break out in the NFL as well. But once he broke out, once he broke out 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns his senior year at Southern Alabama with Carter Bradley, I think, actually. So that's another. Carter Bradley, third-string quarterback on the Raiders. Do we really trust Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew to finish the whole season? I don't know. Carter Bradley can make it out there too. Fun little super flex stash for you guys while I'm on the Southern Alabama tangent. But anyway, Jalen Tolbert looking good, unfortunately, for my Ryan Flournoy love. Anyway, next team we'll talk about is the Seattle Seahawks. And it's basically all Geno Smith stuff. Geno Smith got injured last week. And I'll just kind of go down. Here we go. Geno Smith is set to undergo testing after missing the Seahawks' last 2 practices. My understanding is he's been dealing with hip and knee issues. McDonald said that he's working through a couple things, and we'll get some imaging tonight, and we'll see. He got banged up a little bit and everything, and he's going to see the doctor tomorrow. And then Adam Schefter tweets out, injury update, testing on Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith's knee and hip injuries did not reveal anything significant, and as one source said, he shouldn't miss any time. And then Brady Henderson tweets out, no sign of Geno Smith with the Seahawks practice well underway, so he'll miss his 3rd straight day. However, it was reported that nothing seemed significant about the injury. So the good news here is that we need to be buying Geno Smith because this is going to cause some doubt into fantasy managers. But I would argue, because I'm actually someone who was doubting Geno Smith all offseason. I've had a very hard time coming around to it because kind of similar to how I feel about the Giants, right? Where similar, obviously not the same situation, but in the Giants case, right? Like they are trying to go through an identity shift, it seems. And I don't think that Daniel Jones is their long-term option. And so I think they'll pull the plug and maybe try some Drew Lock action at some point, especially with Daniel Jones' injury guarantee. On the opposite side, obviously a little bit different here, but on the Seahawks, I feel kind of the same in that they are trying to figure out a new identity. And Sam Howell's a young quarterback and young enough and, good enough season last year where I believe that they wouldn't mind trying him out. And the reason I feel that is because it's a new coaching staff, and Geno Smith is up there in age and they have all these weapons. They want to install this new offense. And so I felt that, Geno Smith will probably be good, but he's not a long-term option there. And if he was ever less than good or even just average, I still feel that they could pull the plug. However, the fact that he's missed 3 days and I didn't see a single chirp about Sam Howell, I think that says enough, to be completely honest with you, because we saw in Pittsburgh, he missed some days, and Russell Wilson missed some days, and Justin Fields snatched that opportunity. I mean, his first play out there was a highlight. Whereas you hear nothing about Sam Howell at all, I think that says a lot about how good he's looked in camp and how much of a firm grasp Geno Smith has on the QB1 job. You know that it was already mentioned that Geno Smith was announced the starter for week 1, and they plan to give him every opportunity. So I think you just got to believe in Geno Smith. The fact that Sam Howell remained quiet in 3 days of 3 days. You have 3 days in practice. Remember, the defense can't really hurt you. And you have DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett, and I don't see any clips. That makes me a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. So I Geno Smith, go get him, because he's like quarterback 28, 29. Really good weapons. And we know with Ryan Grubb coming in, they're going to schling that thing. So get some Geno Smith. Seems that this opportunity, normally somebody steps up and, causes a quarterback controversy, a little bit of a battle. It didn't happen here. And I think that says a lot. And I think that should give us some confidence in Geno Smith this year. So get him. Cool. Next team. Let's go ahead and move on to the Lions, because there's interesting stuff here. I guess before we get into the interesting stuff, we'll, of course, keep banging the drum for Jameson Williams. Ben Johnson on wide receiver JMO. Things have started to slow down mentally for him. We've locked him into a couple spots, and as a result, his route tree has grown. It's developed, and his mind, there's nothing he can't do. Awesome stuff. Again, we know Jameson Williams has dog mentality, and we know that he's being asked to do a lot more this year. To hear his offensive coordinator say his route tree is growing, and in his mind, there's nothing he can't do. Again, that's all you want to hear. That is all you want to hear. JMO. I'll keep it quick. JMO. Next bit, Jahmyr Gibbs. Earlier this week, Amon-Ra St. Brown challenged Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs to get 1,000 yards receiving and rushing in the same season, and he'll buy him anything he wants. Gibbs says he's holding him to that. I'm going to break his bank, he told ESPN. He said he might get a house. So Jahmyr Gibbs is fired up. Last year we talked about this when Tyreek Hill came out and was like, I'm going to have 2,000 yards receiving. And I've never been a big Tyreek Hill guy. I don't know why, to be honest, just never have. I guess it's the personality issues, but also every year I had him in Kansas City, he would get like those lingering hamstring issues. I think I have a problem with drafting players in their injured seasons. But anyway, what I said at that time was I'm just going to take players for their word. And if they're that fired up about doing something, their head is doing that. And I believe firmly in manifestation, where if you put something out into the universe and have the confidence to go for it, it'll happen, at least get close to happening. And we saw last year, Tyreek Hill was on pace for 2,000 yards. He really was. So Jahmyr Gibbs, fired up by his teammate. Buy him anything he wants to have 2,000 all-purpose yards, essentially 1,000 of each. Is possible, right? It's truly possible. So like I said last year with Tyreek Hill, I'm buying into it. Jahmyr Gibbs, 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. It's going to happen. I'm officially saying it's going to happen. Get him. Get Jahmyr Gibbs. I love it. I love hearing these types of things. I know, obviously, like it doesn't really mean anything, but I just like these small extra mental pieces. Anything that can add any type of performance boost to a player. If it is, I mean, think about it. The dude could get a house from his teammate, not have to spend any money. That's, of course, going to fire you up. Any incentive at the end of the day to make you play better, I'm going to buy into it. And this is a pretty big incentive to get anything he wants. Amon-Ra St. Brown has the money for it. He just got that massive contract extension. Jahmyr Gibbs still on his rookie deal as a running back. He wants some money. So, I mean, obviously it's difficult. It's probably not going to happen, but I bet it'll be close. I bet Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a lot of receptions and be pretty damn close to it. And I bet he'll get a lot more carries than we think as well. I mean, this is year two. I mean, obviously David Montgomery's still going to be there for the short yardage and goal line carries. But Jahmyr Gibbs showed a lot last year. And one thing Jahmyr Gibbs showed was that he can actually handle a true workload, like 20 carries and multiple receptions. So big things. We know that Jahmyr Gibbs was working in the slot a lot. We know he's been working with the wide receivers as well to work on his catching. So, I mean, anything's possible. And when your teammate is saying they'll buy you a house, I mean, shit. You got to buy into that. So I like it a lot. I really do like that kind of stuff. Gavin says, should I accept this offer? I do not see. Gavin, put that offer in again. Oh, here we go. You're adding it right now. Thank you. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs. The last thing on the Detroit Lions is the wide receiver 3 role. We've got Amon-Ra. We've got J-Mo. They're locked in. Wide receiver 3. It makes sense that it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones. We've seen Donovan Peoples-Jones be a pretty damn good producer in Cleveland. He's from Michigan, so that's going to add some sort of homegrown type of, stuff. But everything, at least recently, is pointing towards Maurice with a D, Fountain, who I've never heard of. I'm not even going to lie. But if you look at his profile, 5th-round draft pick, 6'1", 206 pounds, out of northern Iowa, and was drafted in 2018. In fact, he only has 2 catches, two receptions in 6 NFL seasons Maurice Fountain has. But here are some tweets. Kyle Mankey. Maurice Fountain has got 2 passes in 6 NFL seasons. He was once told he might have to medically retire. Last year, he had to be talked out of quitting the game. And this year, he looks like he might be the leader for wide receiver 3 in Detroit. 32 beat writers quotes another article. Over the last handful of practices, Maurice Fountain has emerged as arguably the front runner for the wide receiver 3 spot. It's a role most assumed entering training camp would come down to Donovan Peoples-Jones and Antoine Green, but Fountain has worked himself into the conversation. In receiver drills on Wednesday, the Lions ran 3-man sets with 2 blockers and a ball carrier. St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Fountain. Then Dan Campbell has some quotes here, so this will pour some cold water, I think. Dan Campbell on Maurice Fountain. He makes plays. You see in 1v1s, he makes the big high catch rate. We are all intrigued with him. We need to see more out of him. He's got to be detailed in what he does. He has an unbelievable opportunity here, and we have to see it. So it seems that, he is performing well, but there's still a lot to be desired there. So it sounds like to me that it might have just been like a 1 or 2 practice thing, and they're just really trying to test a lot of players in this wide receiver 3 role. So it's someone to keep your eye on because that's a ton of volume. I mean, Khalif Raymond had it last year. In fact, I'm pretty sure Khalif Raymond's still on the team, so I'm honestly surprised. I still think it's probably going to end up being Donovan Peoples-Jones. I do think that he is a better receiver, and I also have my Michigan homerism. I'm not afraid to admit it. Darius Fountain only has 2 receptions in 6 NFL seasons. It's hard to believe that randomly he would be pretty damn good. But this is what training camp is for. They're working out kinks. It seems that he has impressed. But to hear Dan Campbell just say that he has an unbelievable opportunity, we have to see it. He's got to be more detailed. We need to see more out of him. I think it shows that they're mostly just giving him the opportunity and seeing what he can do with it. So I'm going to say keep your eye on it. Darius Fountain, keep your eye on it. Pick him up in your deeper leagues just in case. I don't really think it's going to happen, but it certainly could, certainly could. I think some of the other deeper sleeper guys that we've been talking about have a higher chance than this guy because he's older, right? He's almost 29 years old. Like, are you really going to break out as a wide receiver this late into your career and only have 2 receptions up to this point? I really, really, really don't see it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Even if it seems he's building some hype, it is practice. And it just seems that it was 1 or 2 practices where he had the opportunity in the wide receiver 3 spot. So yeah, Darius Fountain. I'm going to get back to that trade from you, Gavin. Would you trade my McBride, Trey Benson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba for his Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyle Pitts, and Tyrone Tracy? Holy shit! Yes! Kyle Pitts is better than Trey McBride. Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Trey Benson. Yes, Jackson Smith-Njigba is a lot better than Tyrone Tracy for that 3rd bit. But I just think jumping from Benson to Gibbs is huge. And I know that McBride is ahead of Pitts in dynasty rankings right now. That will not be the case once this season gets going. It's going to be incredible. Get Kyle Pitts at any cost. And the fact you're also getting Jahmyr Gibbs is huge for you. So anyway, I just don't think that McBride is going to get the same volume that he got with Marvin Harrison Jr. there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get like 160, 170 targets. And Trey McBride might get 100. Sure, that's fine. I think Kyle Pitts could get 150 this year. I think Kyle Pitts is going to set some target records if he could stay healthy. And why don't we go ahead and talk about Kyle Pitts? Because actually, I wanted to talk about him today. Had him on the show sheet, some Falcons news here. And it is really only Kyle Pitts news. He is now being called Mr. Personality, which is awesome because what we know for the last few years is that Kyle Pitts has been very, very quiet and not very confident. It seems a lot of that came from, just Arthur Smith not really instilling confidence and personality in the players. But Daniel Flick tweets out, Kyle Pitts is turning heads at Falcons camp. He's smiling, he's loose, he's mobile, and he's saucy. Most importantly, Pitts is healthy. And after rounding out his skill set, he's primed for a big 2024. Drake London says, I can't wait for him to get out and showcase the unicorn he really is. And that is the best way to put it. Kyle Pitts is a unicorn. He's not a tight end. Kyle Pitts is a unicorn. 6'6", 245 pounds, 4.49 40-yard dash. 81st percentile breakout age of college at Florida with terrible quarterback play. One of the best profiles we've ever seen. I think the highest drafted tight end we've ever seen. 104. 1,000-yard season as a rookie. The only reason he hasn't been good the last few years was injury and Desmond Ridder. Now he gets Kirk Cousins. It's going to be great. He's taller than Drake London. He's faster than Drake London. He's heavier than Drake London. He's a better route runner than Drake London. He has a 1,000-yard season, something Drake London has never been able to do. Kyle Pitts, again, my hot take here is that he's going to out-target, out-produce Drake London, and that he's the alpha in this offense. He's the one that's a unicorn. He's the unique player here. Drake London could be the wide receiver 1, sure, but they are going to be very creative in their usage with Kyle Pitts, and that's what we're seeing here at camp. That's all we're hearing, is that Kyle Pitts is a unicorn. We're hearing it from multiple people, but now even Drake London is saying that. Do you understand what that means? Drake London is excited to see what Kyle Pitts will bring now that he's ready. I think that shows that Drake London knows that Kyle Pitts is the alpha there, at least to me. That's how I'm reading into it because I like giving myself confirmation bias. You got to get some Pitts on your teams. And I'm just going to read the rest of this article from the Atlanta Falcons Sports Illustrated. I'll just go on through. Coger hears Pitts walking down the hallway. The 23-year-old's music is very interesting. He says, this is a version of Pitts many don't see. He's Mr. Personality. You can hear Kyle coming before you see him, so he's confident right now. Then running back Tyler Algier says, ever since the offseason, he's had an edge. He's been doing his thing, just balling. Inside the building, Pitts was busy. For as much as he was heard, he was also seen by head coach Raheem Morris, offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, and Koger. The trio held several sit-down conversations with Pitts about his role in Robinson's offense. Robinson emphasized to Pitts the need to be a complete tight end as a blocker as much in the passing game. And he said, man, your success this year isn't going to be measured off the metrics, what we expect out of you and what you expect out of yourself. If you do those things, then the stats will come. I'm just very excited. Again, he's staying with the quarterbacks right now. He's hungry. He wants to get back to the player he knows he is. I know injuries played a big part of that too, but Kyle's been great. We're throwing a lot at him, and he's handled it really well. So really pleased with where he's at right now. It's just going to continue to build. He's working hard, Cousins says. I love the way he's showing up right now in our pass game. He's a friendly target with his size, and he's got great movement skills. We're going to ask him to do a variety of things running routes. He's run a lot of different routes. I think we're going to distribute the ball all around, and I think he's going to keep showing up for us, says Kirk Cousins. It's just, I really don't know. I really don't know why he's being faded so much right now. I'm going to put this article in the chat too, because it's so long. I could go on and on and on and on about random stuff, I guess. Anything people are saying about him. The point of the matter is, it's time for the Kyle Pitts breakout season, and you cannot miss out on it. He's more than just a tight end. He's a unicorn, and you're right. You are so right, Tresner. Why stop at 150 targets? Kyle Pitts is getting 200 targets this year. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be amazing. Get Kyle Pitts, guys. I'm loving it. Very, very much excited for this player. All right, moving on to another team here. That's enough Falcons hype. Why don't we move on to the Colts? Because some cool stuff is coming out from Colts camp as well. The battle for the Colts backup running back role behind Jonathan Taylor was thought to be one of the more intriguing training camp competitions that was going to take place. However, after only 5 practices, the clear frontrunner is Trey Sermon. That makes sense, right? Trey Sermon took a while to break out, but once he broke out, he was good. And the one thing we know about Trey Sermon is he has the size to be an NFL running back. He's not necessarily had the situation line up for him, had some injuries, didn't get a great landing spot, and was terrible when he was on the 49ers camp. In fact, I believe he ended up being released, but he still has that 3rd-round draft capital out of Ohio State. And still, he's 6'1", 215 pounds, and averaged 7.5 yards per carry, right? Pretty good stuff. And I think I have been, kind of expecting him to break out at some point, even if it's just for a few games like he did at Ohio State. Just didn't break out until the college football playoffs and then just went on an absolute tear. There is no volume to be fantasy relevant behind Jonathan Taylor. There isn't. But if Jonathan Taylor goes down, I do see Trey Sermon being relevant. I just do. This again, Anthony Richardson freezing linebackers, and it's a really, really decent scheme for running backs. We saw with Zach Moss last year. Even Zach Moss was able to be efficient. So Trey Sermon looking like someone we need to roster in some leagues where you go ahead and you roster those handcuffs, even if you're not excited about it. So Trey Sermon. The next bit of information revolves around Anthony Richardson. And this is concerning, I guess, to say the least. George Bremer tweets out, Anthony Richardson goes 8 for 13 with an interception today. And so far through camp is 37 of 55 with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions through 6 practices. Not very efficient right now. Not really what you want to hear. But we do know that probably at camp he's not being asked to run a lot. So they're trying to work on him as a passer. And that's what we know about Anthony Richardson anyway. Not super accurate, but a cannon for an arm. And gonna get you a ton of points on the ground. So it's still looking like Anthony Richardson is probably going to be the Konami code we want him to be, but we do need him to work on the passing. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a near 60% completion percentage through 6 practices is not great. It's not great at all, but that's okay. It's Anthony Richardson. It's camp. Hopefully he can work on it. And hopefully once you're in an actual game environment, you're able to run a little bit more. He could end up being a little bit better. But some good news is that the connection with Josh Downs is growing a lot too. Shane Steichen on Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs' unspoken chemistry. I've been around some guys that have played 16 years together, and they just kind of look at each other and give a wink like, we know what we're doing. You get to that level, it's pretty special. We know from last year, Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs were literally consistently working together, even in the damn hotel parking lot. they were working on routes and timing and everything. So we knew that this was going to be a really, really good connection together. So let's see. Let's go on. Wayne has added that he wants to see Downs become a full receiver, and the early signs from camp suggest his message hasn't fallen on deaf ears. Downs ran second behind Pittman with 9 catches from Richardson through first 6 practices, and a few have come when he's actually lined up outside. So here's interesting to note. Josh Downs has 9 receptions so far through the first 6 practices. Michael Pittman has 10. So it's very, very, very close. Now, Michael Pittman, of course, getting the more high-value targets, of course, more red zone, more touchdowns, more deeper shots and stuff like that. But still, it sounds like Josh Downs really, really is a vital part of this offense. So I get him because his ADP is really, really good right now. And it's looking like he's going to be, at least get a ton of volume. So in PPR leagues, I think Josh Downs is someone we really, 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 really do need. We've been hearing hype all camp, even up to the general manager, how good he was last year. 700 yards as a rookie, especially in a shortened season, nothing to scoff at. The fact he has such a good connection with Anthony Richardson should make us want him even more. So his ADP does not match the floor that he can bring, and damn sure doesn't match the ceiling he could bring. It really is looking like Anthony Richardson and Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor, of course, are going to run this offense, and there'll be a few targets to go around elsewhere. Who's elsewhere? Alec Pierce and Adonai Mitchell. This has been a competition at Colts camp all offseason, and it was expected for Adonai Mitchell to probably take it over pretty quickly. It hasn't happened yet, but it is trending towards that direction. And why is that going to happen? Well, because Alec Pierce sucks. Alec Pierce sucks. He just does. And I hate to say it because Alec Pierce was a rookie I liked a lot. I really did. Second round draft capital, was the clear alpha in Cincinnati his final season. 6'3", 210 pounds, 4'4", 140-yard dash, 96 percentile catch radius, but sucks. Absolutely sucks. Our website has changed. He used to have the 4th most routes run. It seems that it's changed to now the 7th most routes run. Finished with the 45th most air yards, the 64th highest target, 75th target share, 66th in receiving yards. How do you run 593 routes? How do you run 593 routes and only get 65 targets? Just bad. That's just bad. I don't care. I don't care. I know he had flash plays. And again, I liked Alec Pierce a lot, but it's over. He sucks. He is bad at football. He can't separate, and he can't catch, and he can't earn targets. How do you run 593 targets and only get 65 targets? And then how do you only bring 32 of them? Less than 50% catch rate as an NFL receiver? I don't know. But it happened. And that's why they drafted Adonai Mitchell. How do you replace a 6'3", right? 6'3", 210-pound receiver that runs fast? Well, with a 6'2", 200-pound receiver that runs fast. The 221 to the 220 with Adonai Mitchell. How are things looking at camp? Adonai Mitchell has not been the same playmaker he was during the spring, when the rookie seemingly made a noteworthy catch every practice. The second-round pick has been relatively quiet throughout team periods, especially when he's been with the first unit. Mitchell's lack of production is not to say he's behind schedule. It simply serves as a reminder that he has a lot to learn while adjusting to the NFL. As it stands now, however, Pierce remains firmly in place as the Colts' 3rd starting receiver. That came from a few days ago. Now we have a couple more updates, so don't get too concerned there. AD Mitchell showed some more flash on Sunday, executing the double move against Jalen Jones, and then following that up with a nice comeback route during a second-team rep with Joe Flacco. For Mitchell right now, though, it's about consistency. Again, expect both Mitchell and Alec Pierce to play in 2024, with neither separating from the other so far. It was Pierce mainly with the starters on Sunday. Then, the next update, while he continues to split starting reps with Alec Pierce, Colts 2024 second-round pick Adonai Mitchell is noticeably improving throughout camp. The rookie wide receiver's route running and his reliable hands shined through Sunday's practice. So, it's getting better. It's getting better. And that's what we really should have expected anyway. We know Adonai Mitchell, I believe he had some injury, or at the very least, just never was really a mega producer. Had some, of course, spike weeks. What really drove his draft capital was just such a good combine performance. 4.34 40-yard dash, and good really in a number of other areas at the combine as well. But only 800 yards last year at Texas. Of course, 11 touchdowns, which is going to help his stats a lot. But this was still a project player, and there's a reason why, of course, Xavier Worthy was widely regarded as a first-round talent, and Adonai Mitchell wasn't. But He only has Alec Pierce to beat out, who is not good. I do believe Adonai Mitchell is at least good, and it's a very valuable role. Again, Alec Pierce ran the 7th most routes in the NFL last year. So this is a role that's on the field. And if he can get open, which I think Adonai Mitchell could, he's a little bit faster, a little bit more elusive than Alec Pierce is as well, then it should be pretty decent. Again, a lot of the targets are going to be going to Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, and there's going to be a lot of carries between Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. But every offense has a deep shot player. And right now it's trending towards Adonai Mitchell, and it will be Adonai Mitchell sooner rather than later. So I will recommend buying him before it's too late. I do think that'll be a pretty valuable role on this offense, especially for best ball, but I think he has some potential for even managed leagues. He has a flex play here and there, especially in some of these more shootout scenarios. And I mean, they play the Titans, they play the Jaguars, they play the Texans twice. So it's a really, really good team and division to be a part of for these types of archetype receivers. And, he's more than just a deep threat. Like, he does have a route tree, so I like Adonai Mitchell a lot. And, again, Alec Pierce is bad. And it sounds like we need to change his player profiler page. Rams update. The Los Angeles Rams have some updates. We'll start with all 3 Rams tight ends, Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, and Hunter Long, were extremely active in both the first and second team offenses, whether rotating with each other or combining forces. The tight ends continue to be a bright spot. So it is a committee in the Los Angeles tight end room. Don't try to pick a single one yet. I will say, if you're going to pick one, pick Colby Parkinson. He's younger, has shown some flashes throughout his career, decent athleticism, and always has these clutch plays. Like, anytime you look at a Colby Parkinson, it's like a 30-yard catch, and that's nice. That's the really, really good stuff. It's going to take some time for Colby Parkinson, but he's the tight end I want on this team. Next, the Rams are excited about their top 2 running backs, Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. While Williams looks to build on his 1,100-yard debut, Corum will be hard to keep off the field. He's an effing stud is a phrase I heard a few times with people on the ground here. Williams averaged 19 carries per game last season, and my sense is the Rams will strike more of a balance this year, with Corum being a presence on third down and in the passing game. Both have the instincts and pass blocking ability to handle third downs. Again, my take here is that Blake Corum will work into a timeshare, but I do not think he'll take the backfield away from Kyren Williams, at least not this year. Like, it's got to be hard to do it. And I think an injury is going to happen for that to happen. But Blake Corum, I think, will be able to do a lot with his volume. I want both of these running backs. I just don't think we'll see bell cow Blake Corum without an injury. I really think the reason they got him is the fact that he's very similar to Kyren Williams, and they won't lose much as they have to rest Kyren Williams and bring someone else in. And I do think that Blake Corum is good enough to also get on the field while Kyren Williams is there. And Kyren Williams will probably get hurt at some point. But I do think it's more of a committee approach. And, Kyren Williams is still on his rookie contract as well. So it's going to take some time for Blake Corum to be the Blake Corum we really, really want. But he is an effing stud, and he will be good. And he's on a good offense. Even if he doesn't get a ton of volume, he'll still have some good weeks. So I like Blake Corum. I still want you guys to get him, especially if an injury happens. There's some really, really good upside there. So now I see a bunch of comments here, and I just wanted to get the other stuff out of the way before I talked about it. Puka Nacua is injured right now, and it doesn't seem good, to be completely honest with you. Puka Nacua left practice a little over an hour into it after team drill period and did not return to play, but stayed in uniform and helmet on the sideline and a bag of ice wrapped around his right knee. Sean McVay says he's not sure what happened. Adam Schefter tweeted out before I went live, Rams standout wide receiver Puka Nacua is now considered week to week after suffering a knee injury this weekend that one source described as not serious. So, I mean, when you hear week to week, the old Podfather adage comes to mind. Week to week is just coach speak for month to month. Now, that more than likely just means a month. Now, the big thing here is, of course, we still have a few weeks. We've got 3 more weeks of preseason. I believe there's 1 off week, and then we are playing football. So he has a month to recover. Hopefully he does. I could see the Rams. They do this a lot where they actually do take their time and bring their players back. I could see him missing a week or 2, but it seems that he will inevitably be fine at some point. This just, of course, makes Cooper Kupp even more of a value. Now, I feel like my Cooper Kupp outscores Puka Nacua take from this offseason isn't even hot anymore. I definitely still think it'll happen now because I do think that this at least makes Puka Nacua start off slow. And it just gives more opportunity for Cooper Kupp to reestablish himself as the alpha, which is something he's already done in this camp per the reports, right? That the connection with him and Stafford is still very much alive and well. I'm sure there'll be some more updates, but to hear it's not serious and that it's only week to week is the best we can do. And that's fine, right? Like, hopefully he recovers. It's not like Puka Nacua losing snaps in training camp is going to do anything for him. He's obviously still established himself as a very, very talented and integral part of this offense. So don't give up on Nacua. You just got to hold on to him. Don't draft him anymore and redraft. Like, take a break. You've got your exposure now. Draft some other players. Let this develop. But Cup's a stud, guys. Like, Cup is a true stud. So use this opportunity to get more Cup exposure, really, at the end of the day. Gavin asks if you would trade Swift for Corum. No, I would ask for Corum Plus for sure. I definitely want Corum Plus. I think Swift is a little undervalued right now, to be honest. They gave a pretty decent belief and contract in him. And one thing that I like to talk about that some people don't really mention is teams going from a division team to another team. Now, I know the Eagles were like in between that, but he had 1,000 yards rushing for the Eagles last year. I believe at least 50 receptions, maybe 40. I might need to fact check that. But either way, really decent year last year. He just didn't score touchdowns, but he looked good and he stayed healthy. 39 receptions, but 1,000 rush yards. Just literally didn't score touchdowns. Only six touchdowns. And again, I'm saying only 6 touchdowns. But still, they gave him a 3-year deal, $8 million a season. That's pretty damn good for a running back in this market. He has a ton of athleticism. This is a player we've loved a lot. And Roschon Johnson, unfortunately, isn't doing anything. And the fact that, the other running back is just, I always forget a name. Khalil Herbert, every damn show. But so I want DeAndre Swift. I want him a ton. I definitely want DeAndre Swift. And I don't think that Corum is someone, I don't think that, it is Corum. That is the question. I don't think Corum is going to be a bell cow this year unless an injury happens. I think you can get plus. I think you can trade DeAndre Swift for Corum in like a second or a third or something. And then I might feel a little bit comfortable. Cool. I don't have 0 Puka shares, but I definitely don't have a lot. I think I've maybe taken like 2 shares. I don't know what that means for percentage wise, but I don't have a lot. But again, before we move on from the Rams, this is an offense I'm heavily targeting. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford in particular, very, 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 very good values, and they're going to be electric this year. Next team I want to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals. Andre Iosivas is continuing to make noise. Iosivas said, I've had a little mental area of how Jamar ran it and how he scored, so I pretty much tried to do the same thing and it worked. The mere idea that Iosivas is running the chase red zone routes and is the primary target for Burrow for one of the most notable plays of camp thus far serves as the latest example of how Iosivas is viewed in advance of this year. So there's 2 ways to read into this. Iosivas, of course, is taking a lot of Jamar Chase usage at camp, which could just mean that, Iosivas isn't going to see the field unless Jamar Chase gets injured. Or it just means that the Bengals really like Iosivas and want to see what he could do with a ton of volume. So this has been a player I've been asking guys to get super, super cheap with incredible athleticism and showed a good connection with Joe Burrow last year. So it's looking like there's some confirmation bias coming for him as well. Andre Iosivas, you got to get him while he's still cheap. Jermaine Burton picked up a minor injury as well. So another opportunity for him to get even more snaps and just build some more trust with Joe Burrow throughout camp. Even Fox 19 Jeremy said that Andre Iosivas is becoming Mr. Reliable, which is, again, all you want to hear from a player like that. Next up is the Buffalo Bills. Ray Davis, the hype is finally getting backed up by some performance at camp. Ray Davis is looking excellent right now at Buffalo camp. Ray Davis ripped off a monster run early in practice, and his speed was truly impressive. When the Bills selected Davis in the 4th round of April's draft, the idea was that he'd offer an excellent complement to power and aggressive running in between the tackles to James Cook's flashy speed and agility. But Davis has showed off his own bit of speed and penchant for long runs through the first week of camp. Ray Davis impressed by breaking off a huge run early. Davis may have the inside track at the backup running back job behind James Cook. We knew this was going to happen. I'm glad it's happening early. Again, last year we saw the Bills do not believe in James Cook as a bell cow. And that is why I've been fading James Cook this offseason. He was one of my favorite targets last year. He was. But this year, his ADP is about his ceiling, right? Like he could outperform it, but it's going to take some massive efficiency, which of course he's shown before. But what the Buffalo Bills have shown, they want to spread it out around, and that they don't believe he's a bell cow, evidenced by the fact that Latavius Murray and Ty Johnson were getting some pretty decent usage last year. So I think Ray Davis is going to get 30% of the opportunities, and he's a really good running back, a mega producer at the SEC. In fact, led all running backs in receiving touchdowns in college football last year with 8 receiving touchdowns. So he can do it in both facets of the game. Get Ray Davis while you still can. Seems like a true stud with massive contingent upside. I mean, if James Cook goes down, Ray Davis will be a stud's stud. And there's some more Tyrell Shavers hype as well. He's lined up at all 3 receiver spots and has the type of special teams ability to be a central figure in that phase if kept on the team. The Bills are extremely intentional with who gets team drills and throwing reps with Allen during practice, and Shavers has continued to work with Allen each day since his initial rise. So again, looks like we really do have to roster Tyrell Shavers to at least see what it means. Again, I do think it's going to be heavily spread out, and he's not ever really going to be a player where you're comfortable starting. But if some injuries fall his way, he will, of course, get to that point. So, worth rostering in your deeper leagues. I still think, of course, it's going to be a lot of people in front of him. Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox probably even. But the fact he's still going to be out there with the first team and probably making a roster, worth rostering in your deeper leagues. The New England Patriots. Hunter Henry should be even better in offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt's system. Van Pelt leans heavily on the run game and play-action passing plays, which should lead to a significant uptick in the tight end usage for the Patriots. Hunter Henry was the player of the day, with multiple downfield catches in critical situations. The tight end told reporters his comfort with Jacoby Brissett is growing, and that was on full display during end-of-half situations. Brissett kicked off a 2-minute drive by targeting Henry on back-to-back plays, and after the two hooked up down the seam for a big gain, Henry made a one-handed twist and catch down the sideline with Kyle Duggar tight in coverage. So, Hunter Henry, another really good tight end value. This makes sense. This does make sense. Hunter Henry, a guy, I'm sick of him too, Tresner. I'm fucking sick of him too. But it's just like, he's so cheap. He's so cheap. Like, it's like, I would say Hunter Henry is probably the perfect tight end to pair with like a TJ Hawkinson, where he'll probably produce early in the season as he's been on the team before. Him and Jacoby Brissett are building a rapport. And it's probably still going to take some time for Jalen Polk and Javon Baker to at least be good at beating true NFL coverage and game speed. So he's going to be an important part of the offense early in the year. He's going to be a safety net. Now, it's going to be, of course, like 5 to 6 targets, 40 to 60 yards, and a touchdown here and there. But for tight end 27, tight end 30, like you can't really go wrong. You can't really go wrong. And he's going to get some of those garbage time usage as well. Like, it's not like only 28 too. Like, I hate him. Like, I'm tired of it. But, he's always there. Always producing, really, especially in New England since he's been there. There's still the injury concerns. But, there's not many people behind him. And really none of the wide receivers are like true alphas yet. I do think they'll get to that point, which is why I say, again, he's really good to pair with like a TJ Hawkinson, where you could kind of punt tight end for a while, get TJ Hawkinson late, get Hunter Henry even later, and just rely on him until Hawkinson is back. Definitely good for best ball, Hunter Henry is. So I like him. I like him at his value. Seems like he's lighting it up. And, someone has to catch passes for the New England Patriots. And it looks like it's Hunter Henry. But Pop Douglas has arrived back at camp post-hand injury. For the second straight day, Pop Douglas gave New England's offense a boost as he was virtually uncoverable. He had connections with both Jacoby Brissett and Drake May before he hauled in an explosive slot fade in sevens for a touchdown between Jonathan Jones and Kyle Duggar. This is really excellent news. We already know that the drum beats for Javon Baker and Jalen Polk are massive, and they've continued. Literally, I decided to keep them out of the show sheet, really, and just leave it at that. The drum beats are continuing. They're still looking really good, especially in one-on-ones, but even in 7-7s and 11-11s, they're really making some splash plays, both of them. But you need someone else too. You do. And it's looking like Pop Douglas is establishing himself as that. He was probably already established himself there, but coming back from injury and immediately being virtually uncoverable is exactly what you want to hear. He can be the slot guy. Javon Baker and Jalen Polk could be outside a little bit. It sounds nice. Like, this is starting to come together. Again, I firmly believe that's a good point. I do firmly believe that Javon Baker and Jalen Polk are good. I really think they've hit, and I think they've gotten the monkey off the New England Patriots drafting wide receivers back. I really do. Everything's reporting that way. I liked them pre-draft, and I like them post-draft. I'm in on them. And I'm in on Douglas, too, at least when Drake May comes out. Again, I'm still a little bit worried about volume with Jacoby Brissett. This is a game manager quarterback, but still, they'll be decent. So I like it a lot that he's, going to open up the field too. If as many pieces are there, just the better this offense is going to look. We have Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson out of the backfield. We have Hunter Henry establishing himself as a reliable tight end. We have Javon Baker, consistently getting more and more hype. Jalen Polk consistently getting more and more hype, and Demario Douglas building off a pretty impressive rookie season. All the pieces are coming together. It's still a rebuilding team, but, they have to score points. They have to play garbage time. So I like it. It's really good news that Pop Douglas is showing up. But Tresner does make a really good point here. No one on the Patriots defense can cover anyone. That is true. So I'll give you that. But still, good news. And we got to at least get a little excited here. Damn, I still have a lot of notes. Jesus Christ. All right, buckle up, guys. The New Orleans Saints. I think there is a significant divide between when Kamara is in and when the other running backs are in. It's been pretty noticeable every day. Well, we already know it, but I just like to, give any type of Kamara hype I can. He's old, but he's good at football, and he's a really, really good value. He is. He really is. I mean, he almost had the most receptions last year, despite missing 4 games. Like, he's a true stud. So, Alvin Kamara, the noise is there. It's awesome. Next 32 beat writer says, Rashid Shaheed has been so consistent and effective that we're going to stop talking about him. I'm fairly certain he's won every one-on-one rep he's taken in camp and has won them fairly easily. At one point today, I even heard wide receivers coach Keith Williams instruct him to not take any more reps. That's really good news. I, again, do want to say, there's 2 weird things with Rashid Shaheed. One, it seems like he'll be the special teams guy, so that's awesome. Like, that's awesome for your special team scoring leagues. But they did draft Bub Means. We have this other undrafted free agent guy kind of coming in too, Mason Tipton. And Chris Olave is still going to command a ton of volume, and so is Alvin Kamara. Rashid Shaheed, I don't think is necessarily going to do much better than he did last year. That's where I want to leave it. Like, I still think he's awesome. Obviously he's shown some success, has incredible speed, and can connect with Derek Carr on those deep routes. But they only gave him $5 million for a reason, right? Like, in the wide receiver market, to only extend a player 1 year, $5 million is interesting. Now, it is good that they've done that, given he was only supposed to make $1 million. They gave him a $4 million raise. But you would think if he had, talked them into some sort of extension, that it would be a real contract. So I still think, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns is pretty close to his ceiling. Next year, maybe 1,006, so very good. Very good. I don't want to make any mistakes about that, for sure. I just, I am still a little bit paused with that contract. I would have liked to see 10 million, right? Or 3 years, 7 million each or something. Only 1 year suggests to me that the New Orleans Saints still don't necessarily believe in him and want him to prove more, that he's more than just a deep shot player. So we'll see how it develops. Again, really good. Like, I'm not saying fade Rashid Shaheed, but don't get too excited. I think that he was overdrafted at Scott Fishbowl, for example. 4th round, I felt, even with the scoring of special teams, I think is going to end up being too much. Anyway, next up, we have the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell says on TJ Hawkinson that he's very well ahead of where they were expecting him in terms of returning. Still not clear on week 1, but it still does seem that TJ Hawkinson is returning much, much sooner than expected. And again, why I say draft that guy. Get him on your team, especially in redraft, because his dynasty value is still pretty high, but especially in redraft. The tight end position is just so shallow. The fact that you can get a guy in the 14th round that will probably be the tight end 1 or at least a top 5 option rest of season, it's incredible value. And you can fill in the gaps with other guys. I mean, down to Tyler Conklin, you could probably be fine while he's out. And then when he returns, right into your tight end spot, right into averaging 10 plus points a game. Very exciting stuff. Get TJ Hawkinson ahead of schedule. Also, JJ McCarthy is getting first team reps now. We reported that last week that they did say they were going to start to give him first team reps. He has started to receive them. Has not looked good with them so far. His first 2 reps, one was a handoff, and then the other was a near pick. And then Sam Darnold had his best day of training camp, looking very sharp. JJ McCarthy had his worst, finishing 8 for 16 with a near pick in the red zone, and was also sacked 3 times. Part of the process. And that's, I think, a good way to put it. Judd Zolgod on Twitter is the one who said that. It's just part of the process. This is a rookie quarterback. He was slinging it against the second team, which is good news. He's struggling against the first team. Not good news, but not bad news either. Rookie quarterbacks just take time to develop. I mean, like, even Trevor Lawrence this year in his first team snaps was throwing interception after interception. Just give it some time. Again, I do firmly believe in JJ McCarthy. I do not believe in Sam Darnold. I know that we'll get Sam Darnold Cinderella game, and then we'll get Sam Darnold pumpkin game right after that. Sam Darnold will take over after the bye week. He'll be a starting quarterback week 6. Or sorry, JJ McCarthy will take over during the bye week and will be the starting quarterback week 6. Get him on your team. 49ers. This is interesting. Ricky Pearsall, locker right next to Brock Purdy, and is reportedly asking Purdy questions every day, and said that once you see it through the quarterback's lens, it becomes that much easier for the receiver. This is true. So it is nice that he's picking the brain of his quarterback. Very cool that he gets to be right next to him in the locker room. Hopefully that does rub off on him. However, 32 Beat Writers reports Ricky Pearsall didn't record a catch during practice, but earned praise for his contributions as a blocker. So they're, asking him to block. Didn't make any catches. Wasn't really targeted or anything like that. And then Kyle Posey says most of Pearsall's targets are contested. He's struggled versus press, specifically Lenoir. It's early, but he's not separating within the structure of the offense. Not the way that Juwan Jennings and Chris Conley are. I'm not giving him credit for the catch earlier in the day, 5 seconds after Purdy scrambled. That was not a real rep, is what Kyle Posey said. So I agree, with what I'm seeing. Again, when I went to the Senior Bowl, Ricky Pearsall did not impress me. He was fine. I damn sure did not expect first-round draft capital. I thought it was ridiculous when he left early because he didn't really show enough. I know at Florida he has that amazing highlight catch. Cool. I don't know. He was not good against press coverage specifically at the Senior Bowl. And to hear it's happening at camp as well, it's just not what you want to hear. Again, he struggles against press coverage. He was terrible at gaining separation. And really all he can do is contested catches. He's a little agile. Like, I'm sure he's fine. But I really, really don't see much of a ceiling for this guy's career. I really don't. He was one of the players that rubbed me wrong when I interviewed him as well. Just one of my standouts in a bad way from the Senior Bowl. So that's where I'm at with Ricky Pearsall. We've already talked Steelers. We'll now talk the Eagles. Devonta Smith. No player has been impressive in camp. Despite dropping the very first pass of the summer, Smith has caught several deep passes from Hurts through 6 practices, showcasing an explosivity the Eagles lacked during their late season collapse in 2023, but his consistent downfield daggers suggest a dynamism with A.J. Brown that could stretch across an entire season. Brown said he expects Smith to make another jump this year, given that nobody has been able to cover him. Zach Berman tweets out, seems like I should come off the practice field after a 90-minute session with a more nuanced next-level analysis than Devonta Smith is good. But Devonta Smith is good. That was the big takeaway from today. You appreciate it more watching it each day because everything from him is so smooth and so precise. I like it. If you go to playerprofiler.com/staff, you see Devonta Smith is one of my guys. So I'll use any opportunity to talk about him. Again, the first wide receiver to win the Heisman in like 20 years. Like, that has to mean something. A mega producer at Alabama, first-round draft capital, 1,000-yard seasons, consistently getting open, an incredible route technician, and goes against cornerback twos on a week-to-week basis, lighting it up at camp. Shit. Devonta Smith is someone we need to be drafting. Now, I will say he's, pretty much accurately rated. His ADP isn't like a value, but he'll perform there. Like, this is a player you'll want. He's going to be consistent, and you'll have some of those awesome spike weeks as well. Get some Devonta Smith guys. Trade for him in Dynasty too. Why not? I have also been drafting him since his rookie year, Tresner. I love some Devonta Smith. I do not understand why the Slim Reaper was faded. Again, we've never really seen a Heisman-winning wide receiver, and for some reason with this one, it's been really weird. So anyway, I like Devonta Smith a lot. We've heard reports that, he's in the slot as well, so they're trying any way they can to get him the ball. So Devonta Smith looking good, and I do agree. I don't know about top 5. I would go top 10 if A.J. Brown wasn't there, but even then, he's probably still like top 15 with him there. And I think they complement each other really, really well. Like, Devonta Smith isn't taking anything from A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown's not really taking anything from Devonta Smith either. It's just a really good wide receiver duo, and I want both. I also even think A.J. Brown's undervalued right now. This is like a player that, literally DK Metcalf level athleticism on an incredible offense. Last year, even worked himself up to Dynasty wide receiver 3, has found himself, Dynasty wide receiver 9, 10 now. I think there's a little bit of buying opportunity for both these Eagles, especially in a Kellen Moore offense. They're going to throw the ball a lot more. A few more things from the Eagles. Will Shipley continuing his incredible spring. Nick Sirianni even comes out and says that he reminds him of Danny Woodhead. So look out for some fun usage for Will Shipley. And then also Johnny Wilson still working in that number 3 wide receiver spot, specifically in the red zone. And that's just I just want to leave it there. I really want to stop bringing up Johnny Wilson, but I know the hype is going to build for him. Another player that was a standout in a bad way for me at the Senior Bowl was Johnny Wilson. Not a good route runner. In fact, struggled with drops as well. Yes, he's tall. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. So he's going to be a red zone threat. But that's all he is. It's going to be very, very hard to ever want to start him in managed leagues, even with an injury. There's still Dallas Goedert. There's still Saquon Barkley, right? There's still A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith more than likely. Yeah, and then they'll probably just use a Paris Campbell or something instead of Johnny Wilson. He's purely locked in as a red zone threat. He really is not a good route runner. Really not. Very, very not good route runner. It was goofy. It was hard to watch even at the Senior Bowl. So I really don't expect big things. I really don't recommend picking up too much in managed leagues. If it's deeper, sure. But I really think this is a DFS play. Johnny Wilson is. We haven't really seen every year we kind of do this with the Eagles wide receiver 3, even Julio Jones last year. He's dust, and we were still picking him up because, he's on the Eagles. And that's what we're saying here with Johnny Wilson. Again, there's not enough volume to go around. And just because he's a red zone threat doesn't necessarily mean he's going to consistently get some touchdowns. He will get some touchdowns, but you're never going to know when they come. You don't really want him on your managed leagues. For the Raiders, I'll keep this short, sweet, and to the point. Dylan Laub, still looking incredible, looking like he's going to be the third down running back, setting himself above Alexander Mattison on the depth chart, and being used all over the field, handing him the ball, pitching it to him, throwing it to him on screens, having him run intermediate routes, and even having him run deep routes. Dylan Laub is someone you need to get. I know Podfather's been saying it all offseason. I've been saying he'll at least be the third down back ahead of Alexander Mattison. Get him, get him, get him. Get him, get Dylan Laub. Also, the Raiders are reportedly using a lot of 2 tight end sets. Both Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer will be out there. Brock Bowers is, of course, the one with more athleticism and getting some more unique usage, but Michael Mayer is still going to have some fantasy value as well. And do not be surprised if, at least for the first few weeks of the season, Michael Mayer does outperform Brock Bowers, and maybe there'll be a buying opportunity there. But Brock Bowers is still probably the tight end one by the end of the year, and probably by midseason, and probably going to finish the year with more receptions and everything like that. Trezner asked if there's any Zamir White news, and I'll just say this. It is very hard as a pure between the tackles grinder to look good at training camp, because it's not necessarily you're not necessarily breaking tackles or anything like that. I believe with Zamir White, it was going to be quiet, right? He's got his role. He's the RB1. He's going to get it on first and second down, right? It's going to be good. He's going to be fine. It's just very hard for him to do anything at camp. Especially with Dylan Laub being such a good pass-catching running back, they're going to work with that more. And they're just going to rest up Zamir White, right? There's just not a lot he can do. Just purely based on the type of running back he is. You're not really going to make highlight catches, highlight runs when no one, you're just getting arm tackled. So not necessarily any news, but he's still locked in as the RB1. In fact, the latest update still says that Dylan Laub is technically the RB3 behind Madison. That's just how August depth charts work. He will take over Madison. Madison is not good at Alexander Madison, okay? But still, Dylan Laub, someone we need. Zamir White, don't give up on him. I know that it's quiet, but that's just how it is for those types of running backs. So, anyway. Broncos, Bo Nix taking the quarterback 1 job. Bo Nix is taking first-team reps again, even on a rotation basis. That is 4 out of 5 padded practices. He's taken first-team reps this week. Sean Payton then says that he's pleased with Bo Nix's patience in high-pressure situations and even compared him to Drew Brees. He doesn't take a lot of sacks. I think he knows when the play is over and it's time to go. Then I think he can make plays when he's going to. I used to say this all the time. The sack numbers are a reflection more on the quarterback than the offensive line. Drew Brees was one of those guys. He was tough to sack. The ball came out quickly, and I think Bo has traits like that. Very good stuff. And that's exactly what we've been expecting, right? That is why Sean Payton wanted Bo Nix. Very similar to Drew Brees, taller Drew Brees, right? But just can excel in this, get the ball out quick. Multiple routes are being run. You throw it to the running back. It's a quick offense, right? And that's what Bo Nix ran at Oregon. So he's already accustomed to it. He has his favorite wide receiver, of course, Troy Franklin there as well. Cortland Sutton's good. Marvin Mims looks good. Javonte Williams looks good. And Jaleel McLaughlin looks good as well. Jaleel McLaughlin spent $4,750 on a jugs machine this offseason so he could catch 250 balls a day in his garage, local parks, or anywhere in pursuit of transforming into a better receiver. I think it was a good investment, says McLaughlin. Dude is bringing a jugs machine around. That's insane. So very good stuff to hear from Jaleel McLaughlin as well. I just like those fun off-the-field stuff that you hear. I still have this many more updates. My God. Okay. Still buckle up. The Packers. Marshawn Lloyd's ability to change direction is supremely impressive. There was one run in particular where there was nothing open up the middle, and he jumped cut to the right to get to the outside in a flash. Marshawn Lloyd, a player that's going to be incredible, but do not expect much this season. I do think it's going to take some time. I don't necessarily buy the rumors that he's RB3. Again, August depth charts are just going to be like that. I do think he's more explosive and better than A.J. Dillon at this point in his career. Now, A.J. Dillon will, of course, get some between the tackles stuff, but Marshawn Lloyd will get a lot more of the creative play catching, like third down, pass catching type role as well. And he's incredible. Again, at the Senior Bowl, easily the best running back, not even close. Super elusive. Averaged 17 yards a catch last year at USC. Incredible, incredible running back. So get him while you can in Dynasty. In redraft, he's just a handcuff. The biggest surprise by far is that receiver Dontavian Wicks, who caught on in the second half of the 2023 season, only has 6 reps so far with Jordan Love. As expected. I really have no idea why Dontavian Wicks was getting so much hype. I know that his underlying metrics were really good, but that's just going to happen when all of the wide receivers ahead of you are injured and you're on a pass-happy offense. He is 4th wide receiver. He is 4th. It is Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jayden Reed, and then Dontavian Wicks. I don't know why there were so many people saying that Dontavian Wicks is the wide receiver 1. Are you kidding me? Anyway, still clearly the wide receiver 4, barely getting any reps with Jordan Love, looking like, again, an injury-dependent wide receiver. Something has to happen for him to really see the field, and that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. Players can be that. But just because they're good when someone's injured doesn't mean they'll be good when players aren't injured. That's not how it works. There are people ahead of him on the depth chart. There are more athletic, better wide receivers ahead of him on the depth chart. Now, very good hedge. You know, like if you do not believe in Christian Watson, take Dontavian Wicks and he'll have some weeks, right? But, you know, it takes an injury. So just don't expect too much from Wicks. And it seems that at that point, that is how it is. I only have 2 more teams to talk about. Only 2 more teams. We have made it an hour and a half into the show. 2 more teams to talk about. Giants. Jalen Hyatt is being used more explosively. That's very, very cool to see. You know, he had 5 touchdowns against Alabama. He has speed for days. They need a player like that. Again, I like role players. It doesn't mean he'll get a ton of volume. But if they're using him creatively, making sure he's the deep threat guy, maybe getting the ball in his hands in space to see what he can do after the catch, that's all you want to hear for a player like Jalen Hyatt, especially at his fantasy value. So I do want to take a shot on him in Dynasty. I'll take some best ball shots on him as well with that profile. Now, again, you got to believe in Daniel Jones a little bit, right? But at least for Jalen Hyatt, even if Daniel Jones sucks and the Giants suck, Jalen Hyatt should be good for fantasy because then they're going to be in catch-up situations and there'll just be so much volume going his way. They'll be taking those deep shots because they're behind and, you know, he'll be good. So I like Jalen Hyatt with his athleticism. Now, of course, the big story in New York is going to be Malik Neighbors. I'm officially on the, you know, I don't care about quarterback anymore. I just want Malik Neighbors because this is a type of profile that just doesn't come around and they will have a quarterback upgrade next year. So just get him while you can. You know, I was fading him for redraft. At this point, I'm not even doing that. You know, it's just whatever. Just give me Malik Neighbors. His value's fine. Whatever. The Daniel Jones is priced in. Anyway, what's very exciting right now is they're going to be doing joint practices. I'll read through all the joint practices at the end of the show, so stick around. I do have a list of those. But that, I think, will be a huge test for Malik Neighbors as he has been lighting it up at camp. But like we said with Patriots corners earlier, there's no, like, you're going to show up against the Giants secondary. It is a shit secondary. So, you know, it's not a very good practice for him. I believe they're going against the Giants. I will fact check that, or not the Giants, the Lions. I will fact check that at the end of the show again. I'll get you all the things. But either way, the joint practices will provide some insight into whether Neighbors' dominance is due to his talent or the Giants' corners. I do think, of course, he's incredibly talented, but I am curious to see how he does in joint practices. That's very fun for us to keep our eye on this week, is check out some of these joint practices, see how some teams are looking against other teams and what they're doing to attack. Now, the big story out of New York right now is Dante Miller. This is a gift. Every single one of you that has stayed around till the end of the show, this is why you stay around. These sleepers, these players that no one is drafting right now. No one's rostering. Dante Miller. The running back competition is wide open behind Devin Singletary. Miller has gotten some first-team reps recently and has shown the burst that earned him the Turbo nickname. The challenge for the undrafted rookie will be establishing consistency beyond a few splash plays. Miller should get plenty of opportunities in preseason games when running backs can fully demonstrate their skills. Okay. Who's this guy? Undrafted free agent running back. We can get behind that here at Wake and Take. We know it. Every year, it seems that some undrafted free agent running back starts to make a name for himself in camp, and then it just continues. The hype just continues, and then they're Philip Lindsay, they're James Robinson, they're Amari DiMercado, maybe. There's someone every year. Patrick Wilson, was that his name? The Packers guy? Either way, you've got to take note when you start hearing undrafted free agent running back making noise at camp. Okay? And I realize, Tressner pointing out that Tyrone Tracy is there. This is true. But, Tyrone Tracy is a wide receiver turned running back, which, of course, draws to him as a pass catcher, but he's going to have stuff to work on as a running back. Dante Miller is very interesting. This is a profile that's very, very interesting. Okay, so first off, why is Dante Miller an undrafted free agent running back? Well, here's a story. After his transfer to South Carolina, a miscommunication occurred that led Miller and the South Carolina staff to believe that Miller had 2 years of eligibility left to play. In actuality, he had 2 years to play 1 season, not 2 full years of eligibility. In 2022, he played 6 games for the Gamecocks, 2 more than the maximum 4 to redshirt a season. After realizing the mistake, South Carolina appealed to the NCAA, and Miller stopped playing, hoping he'd be granted an extra year of eligibility. The process continued into 2023, and Miller began to participate in spring practices with the Gamecocks. Eventually, after spring practice ended and the deadline to declare for the NFL draft had passed, the NCAA ruled Miller ineligible to play in 2023. Because of that, he was not able to declare for the 2023 draft and isn't eligible for the 2024 NFL draft either, and just had to be a free agent because of some goof. But this is a really intriguing player. Can running back Dante Miller capitalize on opportunity with the Giants? BigBlueView.com. Dante Miller is 5'9", 200 pounds, and spent his first 3 years of college at Columbia, an Ivy League school. So he's a smart guy. And the thing that is drawing everyone to him is his 4.27 40-yard dash. 4.27? You heard that right? 4.27. 4.27 40-yard dash from Dante Miller, and unfortunately just wasn't able to play last year for reasons beyond his control. Now he's there, making noise at camp, has insane speed, and there is opportunity behind Devin Singletary. There is, whether it be injury or just the fact that he can get snaps as well. So I highly recommend you all go to my Twitter, @JFootballWine, because I did actually post some highlights. In fact, why not? Why not just go ahead and play them here? I've got some Dante Miller highlights for you guys. As I wanted to just look into this guy this morning when I read it. So I've got 2 from camp and then just a run play. Here we go. Here's the first camp highlight. Maybe. There we go. Just a nice one-handed snag out in space. And then here's another. This is him running a deep route as well. By the way, Drew Lock spinning this pass. Again, pick up Drew Lock. But look at that catch. Incredible stuff. Dante Miller looking good. All right, how do you look in college? Check out this run. It just looks so effortless. Like the
7.3 yards per carry. And then his 17th try. He's down the left sideline. He did not go out of bounds. Dante Miller
is 4.27 speed. Again, Ivy League, so not the greatest competition, but it's just so effortlessly. Again, look at him behind the line. Just incredible patience, and then just hits it. And this is a profile that we've been seeing a lot of success for recently in the NFL. Just fast. And again, 5'9", so short, but 200 pounds. So he has the weight, right? So I'm getting pretty excited about him. I'm going to go ahead and officially say, go get Dante Miller. Why not? 4.27 speed, Ivy League, pretty open depth chart at the position, making some nice catches, got some crazy speed. Dante Miller, I'm getting excited. Again, when you start to hear undrafted free agent running back making noise, that has to raise some alarms, because every year now somebody does it. So we'll keep our eye on him. Dante Miller, Dante Turbo Miller, by the way, he has a nickname already. Like, whoa, very exciting stuff. So anyway, that's the Giants. The last bit I have for you guys is the Chargers. We talked last week. Justin Herbert's hurt. How do they look? Easton Stick taking the starting reps, throws 2 interceptions. Max Duggan also threw an interception. So quarterbacks look bad. And then, according to a report from Daniel Popper of The Athletic, wide receiver Ladd McConkey came up limping after making a catch during team drills after not coming to practice on August 1st. Jim Harbaugh said the Georgia graduate was working through something. We have not had any updates yet on the injury, but he is hurt. So Ladd McConkey battling through an injury right now. Hopefully we get some more updates. Hopefully he's good for week 1. With there not being a ton of information out there, I would assume that means he's ready for week 1. But we'll see. Don't think that yet. But anyway, joint practices. Here's what we got. Yesterday, the Chargers hosted the Rams. Today, the Giants will be hosting the Lions. So look for some Malik Neighbors information. Dolphins will be hosting the Falcons tomorrow. On Thursday, the Cowboys will be hosting the Rams. On the 8th, also Thursday, the Jets will be hosting the Commanders. The Patriots will be hosting the Eagles on August 13th. The Colts will be hosting the Cardinals on August 14th. The Chargers will have the Rams instead on the 14th. The Browns will have the Vikings on the 14th. The Titans will have the Seahawks on the 14th. The Jaguars will also host the Buccaneers on that day. The Steelers have the Bills on the 15th. Bears have the Bengals on the 15th. Panthers have the Jets on the 15th. Saints have the 49ers on the 15th. Dolphins have the Commanders on the 15th. Broncos have the Panthers 16th. Anyway, you guys get it. Never mind. I'm done listing all of these. There's a lot of joint practices, but they're happening. I saw Duggan and I thought of Kyle Duggar. I had my IDP brain for a second, Trez. Give me a break, all right? I don't know where I went with that. IDP brain for a second. I was like, Duggan? Kyle Duggar? Anyway, that's our training camp updates. An hour and a half. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I think I actually answered questions throughout, so just make sure you guys give me a follow at JFootballWine on any social media channel. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to both YouTube channels, Player Profiler and Player Profiler News. Check out the Wake and Take podcast via link in the description. You all have a magnificent Monday, a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some more football. Peace.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com. Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.